It's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me this weekend. Today is Saturday, September 21st, and this is your weekly analysis video. Okay, so we're looking at last week's forecast, and it turned out pretty good. I'm going to give myself an A for this one because price landed right in our green forecast box here. Now we're at a very interesting juncture, and I'm going to share my analysis on that. But first, what I want to do is talk about a major new feature that I delivered yesterday. It's called the Wheel of 24. So the first thing I want to do is explain a little bit what this thing is in case you're unfamiliar. And it's based on what I learned from Jeanne Long's book called The Universal Clock. And this is an excellent summary of Gann's wheel. And there's a number of very legible screenshots in this PDF that I will publish to the website shortly. So this is a fairly old document, but it's still very relevant. And Jeanne Long unfortunately passed away a few years ago, so she is no longer in the training business and the market forecasting business that she used to be. She was very much a pioneer in the use of software to do astro timing, the kind of stuff we do here on a regular basis. So this is a screenshot of Gann's original price and time wheel for grains and wool. And it's very difficult to read, as is most of Gann's original screenshots from his original documents. So the very nice thing about this PDF is it explains in detail this wheel and the concept behind this wheel. It's really based on what's called the 15th harmonic. So if you take 360 degrees and divide it into 15 subdivisions, each segment is now 24 degrees. You stack those 15 24-degree discs on top of each other, you get a complete cycle. So what you can do is arrange these 15 24-degree segments in 15 rings, and that is the Wheel of 24. This part is called the time wheel, and it's used to identify where planets are in their 360-degree circle. We also apply that to synodic cycles, so not just individual planets, but pairs of planets. So the time wheel runs from 1 to 360. There's 15 rings of 24 degrees each. And as planets move, they move through the rings. And when they come around here to 24, they make the jump to 25 and go out another ring. And then they come all the way around to 48, and then they jump up again and repeat until they hit 360 at the end. And of course, if you're dealing with geocentric planets, then they go backwards occasionally, and that's retrograde. Okay, so this is the time wheel. And then this is arranged with the price wheel on the outside that also starts at 1 here. And this is where prices go. Now, this is important because when I explain how the script works, you'll need to have this mental model to have it make sense in your head. Okay, so let's take a look at the script. And I am going to show you a little bit about how this thing works and how the TTPL intercurrent script has been upgraded. All right, so this is not a new feature in a new script. It is not a new script. It is a new feature to an existing script. Well, two existing scripts, actually. We've upgraded TTPL intercurrent and TTPL outer current to add the Wheel of 24 functionality. So let me just quickly take you through how this works from the top. So we've got inner current here, and by default, we still use the same old, I call it mod 360 conversion method. Okay, so this is where when a planet completes a 360-degree orbit, then we get these vertical lines here as it wraps around, okay? But we want to use the wheel of 24. All right, so mod 360, now because there's two conversion methods in this one script, there's two sort of scaling values, all right? So mod 360 scaling is set here as per usual, and if I want to change it to 1800, then that'll increase the spacing here, and now it's a little bit more legible. Now this number here is the dollars per cell in the wheel of 24. So if we go back to our description of the price wheel, this is what it's like when there's $1 per cell. It goes up from one, but that's not obviously going to work on Bitcoin with its 60 odd $1,000 price. So we would need 10 or 20 or $30 per cell. So we've got the ability to set that in the script here, and also the reverse for very low priced instruments like Forex or altcoins that have very, very low prices. You can set very small dollars per cell here. Okay, so the point is we now have two scaling methods. You select the scaling method you want to use in this dropdown. It's either mod 360 or wheel of 24. And there's two scaling settings, one of which is used and one of which is ignored, depending on what you choose here. So let's switch to wheel of 24. Now it's going to use this $1 per cell scaling factor. It's going to continue to use Venus and Mars because they're selected down here as the planets. And you can see that the scaling is clearly off, right? Because we have just way too many lines. So what I like for NQ futures is a scaling factor of 36. And this is where my numerology bias comes in. I like to have these numbers that are set to, that sum up to 9, have a digital root of 9. Okay, so why don't we just turn off Venus, and now we can look at Mars. And I can walk you through some of what we see here. And now, what's different is that we see more of these vertical lines, and this indicates 24 degrees of Mars movement, right? Because this is the start of one ring, one trip around the ring. So, and then Mars travels 24 degrees, and then this is the start of another one, and then Mars travels another 24 degrees, right? So you can see it goes up from here, the line goes up, and then it hits 24, and then it goes back down to 0. So what we're working with is the 15th harmonic, 1/15 of a circle. And for some reason that I don't know, it is incredibly effective. So you can see here how each of these segments identify periods of trend, periods of consolidation. Net, this segment went sideways here. And then this segment got a downtrend. Where the lines cross in the middle, that's also an important part. That is halfway through one of these 24-degree segments. So this is 12 degrees of travel, and you can see the price reversed right here. Okay. And now we're coming up to another one of these halfway marks through a 24-degree trip for Mars. So that kind of gives you the basics of what's going on here. One of the things you'll notice is that this diamond pattern, one of the things I really like is that, breakouts in the top right of the diamond, generally pretty important, right? So they tend to continue up. Breakouts tend to continue up. However, breakdowns on the bottom right of the diamond tend to continue down, right? There's 1, 2, 3 breakouts down here. And then we got a reversal where we recovered this bottom right side of the diamond. And now we made it into the recovery. So we're coming up here. We've had a very nice pop up as we recovered up into this diamond here for Mars Helio. And now we're approaching halfway through that cycle. We're going to reach that on Monday. And then we will have to watch closely to see what happens next. Okay, so that's a very quick introduction to the Wheel of 24. Actually, let me just finish that thought by showing you what it can do intraday. All right, so intraday, this is what I've got set up here on NQ. And by the way, I really love this setup intraday. We can, again, we're using Wheel of 24. We're using $36 per cell. And we've got moon sun synodic. So this is basically lunar phase. Every 29 and a half days will this completes a cycle. But because we're using Wheel of 24, we're looking at 1/15 of that cycle. Mercury, Mars, Venus, Earth. So because we're using 3 synodic pairs here, we're actually looking at the combined effect of 6 planets. And I find this to be actually quite efficient to view the price action with. So again, you can see the outline of these. Oh, and this is a 15-minute chart. You can see the outline of the diamonds, right? The clearest diamond is the moon sun synodic one. But you can see the other diamonds as well. And where things get a little weird is weekends and holidays and times when the markets are closed. This is actually quite a bit clearer on crypto where none of those things exist. So what we're looking at here is, we can see this diamond of moon sun synodic was really a consolidation. Okay. And then we hit, and then moon sun synodic moved 24 degrees. We entered a new cycle, and then price took off. Okay. So we got a nice move up. Notice how price moved up pretty much at the rate of moon sun synodic on the Wheel of 24. Okay. Tapped Mercury Mars. This is Mercury Mars synodic here, the red line. Okay. And then consolidated, and now we're in a new cycle, right? And if we look closely here, you can see that we've got halfway through moon sun synodic, we've got halfway through Mercury Mars, and this little vertical line here is halfway through Venus Earth. Okay. So we're approaching the halfway mark or past the halfway mark on 3 of these cycles. So there could potentially be a change of trend here coming up. All right. But again, the rule of thumb that I've discovered just by looking at this intraday for 2 days, that's, keep in mind that I have very little time in observing the price action here, is that, again, where we see breakouts in the top right of these diamonds, those are valid breakouts to trade. Okay. Breakout here in the top right of this moon sun synodic diamond, and it took off. Okay. And there's other examples here that I can show of other breakouts up and breakdowns down that confirm that interpretation. Okay, so we'll let it repaint here, and then I can maybe show another couple of examples before I move on to the forecasting part of the video. Come on, repaint, repaint, repaint. Let me close some of this off, close that off, close that off. There we go. So here's another example of a breakout up. Okay, we started a brand new cycle here. Breakout continued up, right? Crossing the top right part of that diamond. And some of these breakouts are kind of sneaky because they don't look like breakouts. They're just like extended consolidations in time. But then look at Venus Earth here providing support throughout this consolidation in time. Venus Earth goes down a notch, still provides support. And that is all the springboard that was needed to move up through this moon sun diamond into the next cell over there. Okay, over here we've got an example of a breakout down. This breakout down crossed 1, 2, 3 synodic levels down, a little reaction, and then it completed the cycle by going down to this area of the moon-sun diamond. Okay, so super interesting stuff. That is all in your hands now, so you can get hands-on and play with this and let me know your feedback. I'm keen to hear your take on this, and let me know if there's any areas where you think I can improve the script. I'm going to be working on training regarding this script and sharing some of my learnings so that you don't have to learn them yourself. You can benefit from my experience on it. Okay, let's move on to the forecast. I want to take a look at this chart here. Now, let me just close some of these. Ruler, don't need that. All right. Now, what I want to focus on here is we're at an interesting juncture where we're in Venus interval 5, which is typically a trending interval, but we're also in an eclipse season. So the thing about eclipse seasons is the node gets gravitationally locked to the moon and sun and it doesn't move. It stays stuck. And we can see that with the planetary lines outer current script. So let's turn that on here. So this is PL outer current using the wheel of 24, okay, scale to 36, and we're looking at the north node. And we can see here how the north node stays at the same degree for basically from August 20th to the end of October. So it's basically stuck. And this is not unusual. It happens every time there's an eclipse. You can see eclipse seasons there. You can see how the node gets stuck and it stays stuck. So let's take a look at what we can learn from this. Let's subdivide these periods of stuck node speed into fibs and see what we can learn. So if we anchor a fib time zone to the start of this node speed time and the end of this node speed time where it's on the same degree, then we can start to see some patterns. So let's go back in time and look at the last couple of times this happened. So starting over here on February 26th, ending over here on May 8th. The node was at the very same degree because of the horizontal line that it's on. It's not moving at all. Should be moving backwards, but it's not because it's locked due to the eclipse. And we see a dump that ended right on the 786, started on the 618 time-wise of that period, and ended on the 786. Let's go back again. We see another time frame here where the node was stuck on the same degree. We have a dump that ended at the 618 and it started at the 382. Okay. This does not happen all the time. The last 2 times that is what has happened. Sometimes it behaves a little differently, but I'm going to apply some recency bias, I guess, to that. You can go back and take a look at some of the other times prior to see how that worked out. But like everything else in astro, it's not 100%. But I did want to call that out because we have the 50% mark coming up on September 25th, 618 October 3rd, and 786 on October 16th. Okay. And we also have our favorite synodic ruler, the Mars-Uranus 15-degree cycle. So that is going to hit next up on the 27th of September. So that's coming up next Friday. Okay, so that's an important milestone. We see that identifying major pivots pretty much for all of this year so far, going back to the October 23 start of this most recent bull run. Okay, so that's Mars Uranus 15. Let's take a look at the speed index. And we can actually, no, I am out of order. I wanted to show the analogs. So let's show the analogs next. Okay, so here's our Venus interval analog. And I do this on a weekly basis because it kind of smooths out the noise a bit. Um, so basically one bar here represents a week of price action. So if we flip over to a weekly view, we can see how well it's tracked. So this Mars interval analog um, captured the down week last week. It captured the up week for the last 2 weeks. Sorry, the down week was 2 weeks ago. Last 2 weeks have been up. And according to this analog, we're going to be consolidating up here, price moving a little slowly, and then flushing down here to maybe a potential slight lower low at the end of October, in line with this next Mars Uranus 15. Okay. So very interesting alignment here with this Venus interval analog. I like to use this at a weekly level. That's based on learnings from Margot, who does a lot of work with analogs. Uh, Daily analogs tend to be a little bit noisy. Weeklies do smooth out the noise a little bit. Okay, so that's an important data point as we build our new forecast. Okay, so let's go back to daily. And we're going to take a look at the speed index. Okay, we're done with the outer rulers. Let's turn that off. Let's turn on PL inner current here, and I want to turn on speed index. There it is. Okay, so this is what we're looking at now with the speed index. We got the big pump up on FOMC, post FOMC at the very peak of a speed index. We have also a couple of the Venus helio and Mars helio planetary lines scaled at 1800. These have been reliable lines for us. This is why they're on our chart. Now, this is not using the wheel of 24. This is using the mod 360 conversion method, and that's still valid. Just because I created wheel of 24 doesn't mean the old stuff isn't valid or doesn't work or is somehow less good. That's not the case. So you can see how good the hits are down here on Venus helio, how good the hits were on Thursday on Mars helio. So this is a pretty good setup right here of PL inner current. And we also saw that happen at the peak of a speed index. Okay, so we're coming up. It looks like we're at an inflection point in the speed index, and you can see how well that's been tracking. It's been tracking pretty good. It's kind of been ignoring the declination and nodal events. If we go and turn on events, we can see the declination and nodal events that happen. Now, sometimes these do create inversions, but what we're seeing is the inversions don't tend to happen, right? It's tracking the speed index quite well, with highs in the speed index being highs in price, lows being lows in price. I think it's likely we had a high in price here, but we still have Mars Uranus 15 coming up. So, and we also have a couple of declination events and nodal events coming up that could cause an inversion and could cause this to keep going up. That if we kept going up into the Venus helioplanetary line here, that would not be a total surprise, because look where we found support. This could be a nice little round trip, Venus helio to Venus helio, and finish that up over here. So let's go take a quick look at time trades machine learning probabilities, and then we'll update the forecast. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at QQQ on time trades to check the machine learning probabilities to see when there's potential pivots. And we've got a big cluster of moves over here. We also have had last week a cluster of pivots. Okay, so this was 17th, 18th, 19th. Now remember, pivots don't get actually identified in the real price action for like 2 or 3 months. So this is still considered a forecasted pivot. These are forecasted pivots as well. So we've got pivots October 11th, October 25th, but a big cluster over here late October from the 24th to November 1st. So let's look at NDX. If we look at NDX, I'm going to turn off this wheel of 24 here. We don't need it. We've got that big cluster of pivots last week. So this is the 18th, 19th, 20th. And we've got new clusters of pivots, October 3rd, October 4th, October 11th. And we don't really have much the end of October in NDX, but we've got some big ones coming up in early December and late December. So that's important to be aware of. On SPX, we also have pivots coming up October 11th, October 22nd. Okay. And we also are showing some pivots last week. And again, these are forecast pivots because we don't know for sure that this price action up here is an actual pivot or not. So I think the last labeled pivot in the price action is over here in July. This one is old enough for the system to say, yes, this is indeed a real pivot. So of course, the machine learning forecasts are going to be high for a pivot over here, but the ones over here, these are still forecast pivots, not actual pivots. So that's SPX. You can take a quick look at SPY before we move on. And SPY, we've got a big cluster over here, October 22nd, October 25th. So that's in line with our late October date. So NDX is really the only outlier here. This is why we look at multiples. So we don't have a great pivot probability in late October. So that's the, I guess I'd consider that the exception that proves the rule. Obviously there's some interpretation required here, but when 3 out of the 4 major symbols line up with a late October date, I think that's important. Okay, so let's reveal the new forecast here based on everything we've talked about. And what I'm looking at is maybe a continued grind up at a slower rate to maybe touch this Venus Helio line right around Mars Uranus 15. Could be earlier, okay, because we do have these declination events in here. We've seen the peak in the speed index. Speed is declining. So we could see a drop here into this bottom in the speed index and maybe retrace about 50%, possibly 50% of if price goes up into the middle of this forecast box, then a 50% decline would be around here. Recovery to the 382, touch this Venus Helio and Mars Helio crossover, and then a further decline into late October. So this would be in line with this Mars Uranus 15 and also this bottom in the speed index. And notice that after October 14th, there is no declination or nodal events until November 12th. So we should just be able to kind of trade the speed index without having to worry about declination or nodal inversions. All right, so that's the new forecast on NQ and a pretty good review of the new Wheel of 24 capabilities. We will see how this plays out. And again, remember that this is educational information. This is not financial advice. I share this to demonstrate how to use the time trades capabilities and so that you can apply it to your own trading and investing. Okay, I'll be back shortly with a view to Bitcoin and gold. All right, we're back with a quick view on Bitcoin here. And what we're looking at is Three planetary lines stacked up. Okay, so we have Mercury Helio at scaled at 18,000. We have Mercury Helio scaled at 4,500. And we have Mercury Helio over here. Oh no, yeah, that's right. We just have those two. Sorry, I thought we had three Mercury Helios. We only have two of them. Okay, so we've got two Mercury Helios set up. And we've got a couple of Gann fans here. Look at these lovely Gann fans. This one is anchored to the flush low in early August. That's Mercury Earth synodic. And that's scaled at 5625. And this guy is Earth and Moon Sun synodic scaled at 5625 as well. Okay, so I think it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe not last week's video, but from 2 weeks ago, and I talked about how these Gann fans coming down from this August 26th top can be important confirmation levels of a resumed move up. And we can see that here. This second gray line, this guy is Moon Sun synodic, again, lunar phase, fan of those synodic cycles because they combine two planets into one line, right? So this would be at the -4 multiplier, so 4 times that speed. And this is -8, this is -4. And close above that was really confirmation that we were breaking out. And then down here, we can see how it's tracked and then exceeded this purple Mercury Earth synodic line, scaled to 8 through 1. So this is the 8x multiplier, 4x multiplier here. Okay, so anyways, that played out from the comment that I made 2 weeks ago about these being confirmation levels. But the other thing I want to show you is these green circles. And this is where the two Mercury Helio planetary levels cross, right? Because remember, we've got this one scaled at 4,500 and this guy scaled at 18,000. So that means that $18,000 in price maps to a single orbit in Mercury. And where these cross, these are important days, right? Like from here to here, obviously huge pump, first close above, big confirmation level. And again, here to here, this is another pump crossing over this Mercury Helio line confirmation level. We had another one from here to here, and actually there's two in a row. So we don't know what the result here is going to be. It looks like we're working on an inside day today. But again, I'm not willing to get super bullish on crypto until we get past this halfway mark of the Mercury Helio cycle. And it looks like we're, judging by the wicks, it looks like we're kind of running out of gas on this move up, right? So one of the things I'm going to suggest is that if we go and look at the machine learning here for Bitcoin, we see some pivots coming up September 27th through September 30th with some big moves. I'm not sure we've got the energy to keep moving up here. And if we go and look at history, if we zoom back, we can see that the biggest moves up have occurred close to, like in the latter third of a Mercury Helio orbit, right? So if we go back and take a look at the last pump here, it really got started October 13th, and then almost the entire second half of that Mercury Helio orbit was a move up. And then steadily the time spent went down. So this is less time. So the second half starts here, and then less time is spent moving up. And then here we barely move up at all. In this cycle, we just basically go sideways. Pretty big clue that this move is over and it's in correction mode. Okay. So I think this correction mode is going to end eventually. I just don't think we're going to keep going up. And the clue from the machine learning is we've got a pivot coming up the end of September between the 28th and the 30th. So I think that's actually going to be a low here to kind of set us up for the next wave up that's going to occur here in the second half of this Mercury helio cycle. That's my thoughts on Bitcoin. I will be back with thoughts on gold. All right, we're back and taking a look at gold. Not much to add here. It's pumping really hard right on this Earth Helio 180 wraparound. So this is basically the fall equinox. And one of the things we notice about gold is that it does tend to have these big moves around the spring and fall equinoxes. And we can also see how the patterns of the sun and the earth control price very, very nicely. You can see this very nice channel here where it broke out, retested, and now it's back moving up. So let's see what the machine learning is saying about gold and it gives us really kind of a couple of windows for potential pivots. The first one is in early October. Okay, so that looks like a Tuesday, October 1st. But then there's a big window over here, October 24th to November 4th. All right, so that's a second big window for pivots. Again, remember, these are non-directional pivots. We're not saying if they're pivot highs or pivot lows. We're just saying that they are pivots. Big cluster of moves around here. Not much, very little in by the way of pivot potential between now and October 1. So looks pretty safe to trade the trend for the next couple of weeks here on gold, which is clearly up. So if you can get in on any sort of bullish pullback here, maybe if there's a pullback to this yellow sun line, that would be an excellent entry, looking to play it going up to early October. And maybe then reconsider what's happening. Maybe it enters a period of consolidation. We shall see. But right now, it's just a question of execution really on gold. The trend is obviously up. And it's important to be patient, try and get some good entries near these lines with tight stop losses and avoid chasing if at all possible. Okay, that's it for me this week. Thanks again for using Time Trades. We will talk to you again next weekend. Bye now.